Some of the really intriguing findings with men and women and their careers include the following. Some economists have studied graduates of top professional schools, so MBAs from Harvard and Chicago, for example. And they find that right out of graduate school, men and women are earning almost identical compensation. But if you look at them 10, 15 years later, men on average are earning a lot more than women. And one of the important differences is that women took time, say in their 20s or 30s, out of the formal workforce, probably related to having children and caring for children. And those gaps that started out being almost basically zero became very, very large. So there are some professional occupations. Now I'm not talking about the entire labor market. I'm talking about people in hard-charging professions and earning very, very much. But there are large gaps between men and women in those professions, finance, for example. And part of this is that there's a big return to working lots and lots and lots of hours and never taking a gap or a break. And men are evidently much more willing to do that than women, and there's a wage premium for doing that. And so people have studied this. One of the fascinating findings that Claudia Golden in particular has been talking about is that pharmacy is the most gender equal profession. So if you want to be a pharmacist, it's a good job, great benefits, high pay, respect in the community, but it's also a job where you can work part-time and be just about as productive or about half as productive to your employer as a full-time worker would be. So it's pretty easy to go part-time, to take a year away from work and then come back in pharmacy. And one of the outcomes is that the gender gap among pharmacists is one of the smallest across the or the smallest across the professions. And so this helps us infer that one of the differences, at least in the professions, between men and women and their pay is coming from the willingness to work very long hours and the willingness to work steadily every year without gaps. And in pharmacy, there's just not that much of a pay cut for taking gaps or for working fewer hours, and men and women are treated or get outcomes that are much more similar.